promised, He is able to perform. Can we just give God a praise tonight? Hallelujah. Well, we got one more testimony tonight. A really good friend of mine. I think we met back in 1805, something like that. But without further ado, his name is Bobby Yagong. He's our bass player. Bobby's my dog. Bobby and I have been through many seasons in New Hope, Las Vegas when the church first started. One thing that he reminds me of the Holy Spirit. He never changes. He's constantly there next to me. Say, man, when you say jump, I just say, how high, man, I'll jump for you. When you say climb in the ditch, I'll climb for you, man. And so Bobby and I have had a long relationship together, and he has been such a faithful friend. It doesn't matter if hell is unleashed on planet Earth, Uncle Bobby is always there, willing to serve on the praise. Yes. Ready?
How's it going?
Okay, your first question is, what is the square root of 87? Oh, man. All right, Bobby, so how long have you attended A New Hope?
Well, actually, back in 2003, around July, I received a lot of invites. I mean, it wasn't just one, it was several. I began to get a conscience thinking that, do I look like I need church? What's going on? But my daughter at the time, my oldest daughter, Tiffany, was going to UNLV. So one day we was talking and I asked her what she was up to. And, she told me her daily schedule and everything. And he says, oh yeah, and I attend this new church. I said, oh really? What church? And to my surprise, he said, New Hope Las Vegas. And at that time, in that moment, I thought, is this a sign for me to go and check it out? Because at that time, mainly I was more into working, during the weekend. On the weekends, we played music, me and my band, and church wasn't something that I was even thinking about attending, honestly. But since my daughter was going, I decided, well, maybe I should check it out. And one of the band members on my band was actually the worship leader at that time. And every Saturday night we used to play, and at around 4 o'clock we'd get done, and he'd tell me, well, I gotta get up in a couple hours to go to church. And I thought he was crazy. I honestly thought, say what? And he would say, you guys should come check it out. So since my daughter was going to this church, I decided one day, well, I'll get up before 11 and check out the 11 o'clock service, because 9 o'clock was a little bit too early for me at the time. So I went to the church, not knowing what to expect, and the first thing I felt was the aloha. As soon as you get there, you're greeted, and everyone is just welcoming you with open arms. And I wasn't used to that, it felt good. I felt like, maybe this is the place I should be. So as I walked into the church, I remember this short Japanese guy, young guy. He was about 5'4".
4.5.
Yeah, maybe 40. But he walked up to me and he put his arm around me and says, welcome to New Hope. I'm glad you're here. And he just said his name was Ken. That's all. And I was thinking, oh, all right, nice guy, right on. So I proceeded to the chairs. At that time, all we had was folding metal chairs, and it was at a school elementary cafeteria. But they had it set up pretty nice. They had the ambience of a church. They had the stage set up really nice, decorated. And the first thing I noticed was all the band equipment. Being a musician, I was like, wow, they got a full band, drums, bass, acoustic guitar, electric guitar. Because I grew up Catholic, so all I'm used to was seeing at church was an organ. That's it. There's one organ and the whole choir, singing the whole hymns. Nothing wrong with that, but that's all I was used to. So as I seen the worship team come out, they had a 5-piece team, and they started playing their praise music. And I was like, wow, this church is pretty cool, man. I was getting into the music, looking around, everybody's up and clapping and stuff. I said, hey, I'll start clapping too. So I was like, yeah, I feel good now. I feel good. I feel, my blood is flowing. Then everything slowed down and they started playing the worship music. And I still remember to this day the first 2 songs that I heard. It was Draw Me Close and Love You So Much.
Oh.
Those are oldies but goodies and will forever be sustained in my heart. And when he played those songs, I could feel something stirring up in me. Some kind of emotion. I didn't know what was going on. My eyes started tearing up, and I was looking at the ceiling and looking around, hoping nobody sees me crying and stuff. Trying to act like dust was in the sky. But I couldn't understand that. I didn't know what was going on. But that's the emotion that I felt the first time I heard the worship music. And after the worship team walked off the stage, then I seen this short Japanese guy walk on the stage. I'm like, Ken, wait a minute. Ken, that's Ken. And he's the pastor. I'm like, say what? I'm used to seeing, my old priest was always old. Every church I went was old. Not no young guy, a lost shirt, all different. But I really enjoyed his message. His message was great and said a lot of good jokes, and he busted out his dance move, and I said, yeah, this is a pretty cool church. And I've been coming here ever since. We're about 12 years now.
There's a lot of history, a lot of seasons, and you were able to weather many storms as our church grew. Now, I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So, what ministry do you serve in?
I'm in the welcoming committee. Near and dear to my heart, I have been on the worship team from way back when. And I remember after the 3rd Sunday, something was stirring in my heart that told me that, besides all the other genres of music that I play, something special about worship is what I wanted to get involved with, something that I felt near and dear there, just the message and the feeling and the way it made me feel, that I wanted to be a part of that. So after the 3rd Sunday, I walked up to the worship leader and I said, hey bro, if you ever need a backup bass player for an 11 o'clock service, let me know. 9 o'clock might not be early for me. And he said, shoot, come to my house practice this week. I said, okay. And I figured I'll go to practice and just check it out, see how it goes. So I went there, met everybody, and we practiced the songs. And at the end of that practice, everybody looked at me and says, see you Sunday, 7 o'clock. I was driving home and like, what did I get? But it truly has been a blessing, because I went there that first Sunday and played with the worship team. We also still had gigs on Saturday night, so I would get home roughly about 5 in the morning. But I was all psyched up, worship today. And I went to worship, I was just a little tired. But once the worship started, it's like my body was taken over by the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
I just the hardest part about worshiping is having someone stand in front of you, eye contact, and they're crying. Because they cry, I cry. So please, if you see you're in my line of fire, try stand to the side, because I don't cry if you cry.
Uncle Bobby, this has got to be one of the coolest things ever. Is Uncle Bobby will give up his gig time to make it to church. It's like, hey guys, church first, and then everything else follows. So that's huge for me, man. How has God touched touched your life here at New Hope?
Well, God really gave me, New Hope made me have that relationship with God, something that I never experienced anywhere before in my life through any church that I went to. You know, I really feel the bond with God and the closeness that I feel, because when I grew up in Plantation Village in Hawaii, in Big Island, people would come over to our house on Sundays, friends of the family, and say, "Hey, can I take your kids to our church?" And I said, and my parents was like, "Yeah, take them." So, you know, we was like, "Oh, wow." So we had to go. We went to church with them, and all I remember was what church had the best juice, which church had the best cookies, which church had the best games, and that was it. And then my mom would take us to the Catholic church, which, you know, I love Catholic church too, but all I remember was kneel down, sit up, stand up, kneel back down, stand up, preach would talk, and if I fell asleep, my mom would pinch me and I better not scream. If not, lickings when I go home. But that's what I remember. There was no real relationship, at least for me. You know, there's nothing wrong with any other church, but just for me, New Hope made me have that relationship with God. And I'm very thankful for that.
All right, Mr. Bobby.
In the area of faith, hope, and love, how has God revealed himself to you?
Well, for me, as a guy that grew up and went into the military for 22 years and going through 2 broken marriages, mainly because I constantly was gone. Deployments on no notice, I would have to go, put a really stress on my family life. And the biggest thing that was missing, and I know, was God. I never had God in my life, in my family life. And now that I have found God for the past 12 years, and to see my kids also come here to New Hope, it made me a better father, a better grandfather. And it made me proud of what they've accomplished. You know, even if I wasn't there, they knew what I'm into now. They know where their dad is. I'm with God, I'm in church. I cannot say anything louder than my actions, and my actions speak louder.
Yes.
And through those experiences, you know, I was very much afraid of falling in love again, because the pain that you go through in relationships sometimes is more unbearable than the pain you feel through some kind of accident or, you know, physical pain. But through God and through this church, I have found the love of my life. And see, right there. Can I introduce you? Hi, honey. This is your audition for the worship team. Me and Laurie have been friends for almost 10 years, best of friends. And I knew her kids when her kids was shorter than me. Not anymore. And I love their kids. And she knows all of my kids and my grandkids, and they love her with all of their heart. And it's very special that when she came back into my life, you know, I told her, let's go to church. And this is about a little over 2 years ago. And she came to church, New Hope, and she loved it. And I think that glow that she had after coming to this church is something that really made me more attracted to her. And I remember one night we was eating. She had her teriyaki chicken bowl, and I had my coffee, and she was winking at me. I was like, that's a sign. That's a sign. And I can't thank you enough for the love you have given me and the love that I have for your kids and the love that you have for my kids and my grandkids.